The Department of Public Health and Human Services is pleased to bring you Aging Horizons. Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, fraud, legal issues, veterans benefits, and caregiving. Aging Horizons is a program dedicated to inform and prepare Montanans on these timely issues, making a difference to you and your loved ones. Here now is today's program host.
Hi folks, and welcome to Aging Horizons. On today's show, we'll be talking about the Senior Medicare Patrol Program, or SMP, where individuals who are on Medicare, looking at their bills, they might find some fraud, charges there that you did not receive services for. Or if you have some problems understanding those Medicare bills, the SMP program can help you, so stay tuned. We'll be right back.
I was diagnosed with diabetes in 1992, and I went into denial. It made me angry. I was a professional chef, and I didn't want to change my eating style. It took me a long time to get serious about managing my health. My perspective changed from resentment to one of loving my body, the container for my spirit. Getting help from my diabetes educator supported my goals of improved self-care. I want to feel good and have a great life. My diabetes educator helps me do this.
In 20 years at an electric utility, I've seen the hardships many of our neighbors face with high winter heating bills.
Ross Holter, Flathead Electric Co-op.
That's why I donate to Energy Share of Montana. I just hate the thought of senior citizens, and young kids especially, being cold in the winter. Donate to Energy Share. Help your neighbor stay warm.
To donate, call 888-779-7589 or go to EnergyShareMT.com. Energy Share, you can help your neighbor stay warm.
We've been married for 57 years, and we've always been very, very close. And Bessie fell and broke her hip, and we put her in the nursing home. And I wanted to get her out of there in the worst way, because we married for better or for worse, and we're going to stay that way. And the personal care that comes in here and gives us a hand is equally as important as I am to her. Personal care is the answer to it all, and without it, we couldn't do it.
Good care is your right. In Montana, there's over 11,000 beds in nursing homes and assisted living facilities. If you or a family member needs assistance or help in obtaining information about care issues and placement options, call 1-800-332-2272. If you or a family member need information about Montana's long-term care resident rights, or if you need help solving a problem or a complaint about a nursing home or an assisted living facility, call us at 800-332-2272.
Welcome to Aging Horizons, which is brought to you by the Department of Public Health and Human Services. I'm your host, Brian Lamore. And as I mentioned earlier, the Senior Medicare Program, or the SMP, not Senior Medicare Patrol, or SMP, is a program that's available statewide, and it helps individuals ferret out problems, issues, or maybe fraud with the Medicare program. Joining us today, the head of the SMP program, the program manager, Renee Labrie-Shanks. Welcome back to the show. I know you're a regular here.
Thank you, Brian. Nice to be back.
Great. Well, let's start at the top. We're talking about the SMP program. Well, what is it, and how does it serve Montana seniors?
Sure. Well, the Montana SMP program is a statewide program, as you said, and it's housed out of the Area 7 Office on Aging at Missoula Aging Services. And our mission is to promote the independence, the dignity, and health of older adults and those who care for them. And one of those ways is through this program. And it serves to empower people to prevent healthcare fraud, waste, and abuse. And people can easily lose their independence, dignity, and health if they fall for some of these scams.
Yeah. Well, how do people first notice these scams? I mean, we're talking specifically about Medicare, right?
Yes. Healthcare in general, but Medicare is primarily what we're concerned with. And when we talk to people, we really try and break down how simple it is. It seems overwhelming. You know, I think people think, what can I do? I'm one person. What difference could I make? And when we talk about fraud, I really want people to understand how much is lost each year and what that means to this country, and then we put them in the perspective of they really are that first line of defense.
Right, and that's because they spot possible procedures on their Medicare billing that they did not receive. But it seems kind of complicated, you know, a lot of those charges are medical terms, and we don't understand the language. What tips someone off to maybe question their bill?
Well, oftentimes I think it's just a human thing that happens, is if somebody's out money, that's when they're going to question it.
Yeah.
And what we really want to get across to people is for everyone, regardless of whether they're going to be billed or not, if Medicare is going to be billed for something, that it needs to be correct, because it's everybody's money at that point.
Yeah.
So we want people to read their Medicare summary notice or Medicare Advantage explanation of benefits. That's really all there is to it. That's the magic. If they open them up and look at them, they always look the same, unlike a doctor bill, right? They're all different. Every single one of them is a little different, and they can get confusing.
Yeah.
That Medicare summary notice always looks the same, is very understandable. They redesigned it in the last 10 years, so it would be. And the Medicare Advantage EOBs as well. Once you know how to read yours, they will never change. And we just want people to look at them.
Look at them and start noticing them. And well, what is the scale of, maybe fraud and abuse that we're looking at the Medicare program, both nationally and in Montana?
Well, you heard the old adage that bank robbers used to rob banks because that's where the money is.
Right.
Well, healthcare is a billion-dollar industry. In Medicare, we could actually pay for the EPA, the Department of the Interior, the National Nuclear Security Administration, and NASA for the amount of money we lose to Medicare and still have $22 billion left over a year. So it's huge. And now the Russian and the Nigerian mobs are moving to Florida and getting involved. There's been a New York crime family that's moved to Florida. It's the epicenter of fraud, we always say, down in Miami.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of Montanans feel like we're isolated from the fraud and we don't have to worry about it. And that's just not true. We at our department saw $22,000 misdirected or defrauded from Medicare just out of what we saw last year alone with some durable medical equipment fraud.
Okay. And how does one go about me? I mean, they have a question, and we have an 800 number on the screen. They call that number, and they have a question. What's the process after that? You get a call in.
Sure. That 800 number gets you directly to the closest office on aging in your area. Sometimes when you call from a cell phone and you moved, it's where you moved from.
Yeah.
But that will direct you to our program. We're in each office on aging across Montana. And all you have to do is mention, I need help with understanding my Medicare summary notice or Medicare charges, and they'll direct you to one of the State Health Insurance Assistance Program counselors, or SHIP, or the SMP program. It's that simple.
That's simple, and they might want a copy of your Medicare bill. But how many times is this an innocent mistake that, I was just at the doctor and I said, well, this code will cover it. They just throw that in. And how many times is it an innocent mistake versus an intentional mistake?
That's a great question, because a lot of mistakes do happen.
Yeah,
we are a low fraud
human.
state, and that's great, but the mistakes matter too. There was, I always quote this one, I've said it probably on every time I've been here, but a woman who questioned a $9.19 charge that was just an extra charge on her statement. It was a mistake. It returned $1.37 million back to Medicare. So that's how simple it is, because if something's a mistake on your bill, it might be a mistake on many other people's as well, so it can add up.
Yeah.
There was a person in Kansas City that billed every day but Christmas for 3 years, and one man he saw one time, he got $102,000 out of Medicare for.
Ooh.
So we're saying, if that man would have opened his statements twice, the time he actually got billed correctly, and then any other time, he could have stopped it when it was $500 instead of $1.9 million by the time the person's caught.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, is there any incentive? I mean, does the person turning them in get a little cut of the action?
There is a whistleblower clause where if somebody reports and they're the first account of fraud, they would get a percentage back.
Oh, so, that's really nice. That's a great incentive, isn't it? Well, unfortunately, we've drawn to a quick close to our first segment here, Renee. But for our viewers, we're talking about Medicare fraud, maybe mistakes that are being made, and you're the first line of defense because you're getting the bill, and you pretty much know what services you received. And we have a simple 800 number for you to call. Stay tuned. We'll be back with a lot more great information.
Suddenly I couldn't speak. I knew something was wrong. I called 911 immediately.
My arm didn't hurt, it just stopped working.
I knew the signs of a stroke. I called 911.
Know these warning signs, and if they happen to you or anyone with you, call 911. Treatment within 3 hours from the start of symptoms can make a difference. Stroke is a major cause of disability. It is also highly preventable. Learn the signs and act immediately. For more information, call 1-888-4STROKE.
You mean I can get help paying my prescription drug premiums?
Let me get this straight. I could be eligible for help with my family's prescription premiums even though I own my own home?
And our assets won't be counted.
If you're a Montana resident enrolled in the Medicare prescription drug program, you could be eligible for help paying your premiums. Call or visit the Big Sky RX website today to find out, even if you think you're over income.
What do you know about that? I'm eligible.
I have so many questions about power of attorney.
Well, some powers of attorney are for finances and others are for healthcare decisions.
A power of attorney designates an agent who would make decisions on your behalf.
While making a power of attorney, you have the ability to control your agent's power.
You also have the ability to decide when that POA would take effect.
Wait, am I giving away all my rights?
Power of attorney isn't a license to make any decision for you, just those that you've specified.
Your agent should be somebody that's working in your best interest, but it should also be somebody that you would trust.
What if they try to abuse their power?
Protective measures like third-party accounting, secondary signatures, defined spending and gifting limits can help protect against financial exploitation. An agent's powers can always be limited by a customized power of attorney, and they can be revoked by you or the court if the power of attorney is abused.
So carefully drafted estate planning documents can help ensure that your finances are monitored, but not abused.
If you or someone you know is being exploited, please report to Aging Services Bureau at 844-277-9300 or the Legal Service Developer at 1-800-332-2272. This message sponsored by the DPHHS Aging Service Bureau.
Hi, welcome back to Aging Horizons. I'm your host, Brian Lamore. In our former segment, we're talking about the Senior Medicare Patrol Program, or we'll refer to it as the SMP. There is some intentional fraud going on with Medicare, and rejoining us today is Renee Labrie-Shanks. And we're talking about, in the last segment, about $60 billion is taken in fraud from Medicare. What is Medicare doing to address it at their level rather than, just the individual receiving services turning them in?
Yeah, thanks for asking. They're actually doing quite a bit. Since the Affordable Care Act, which I think some people just think of the health exchange side of things, but it's really a series of regulations, a series of provisions, and it gave us a lot of fraud fighting tools. There's like 4 main points that they kind of took care of. I think we all know that the Medicare card changed the number, so it's no longer tied to someone's social security number. And that was a nice big change that helped protect someone's identity, but people can still steal from Medicare. So we want to really urge people, it protects you, but it doesn't protect Medicare. So still do not give it out unless you know why. Don't carry it with you if you're prone to losing things like that. They also have a smart database, kind of like we've had for years with the credit industry, the banking industry, where if certain data points are met, it'll be red flagged. Like someone can't bill for 900 procedures when the norm out there is 1 a month or something like that, or more hours than there are in a day, things like that. But patterns also take time to develop, so we can't wait. When I say people need to read their statements, we can't wait for a pattern to show that this doctor is billing for more hours than there are in a day. He could still get away with $1 million before it's caught. So somebody who looks at their statement might stop it the second time that they're charged when they didn't see the fellow. So $500. It's kind of like I always say, like when the burglar comes and breaks the glass on the front door but doesn't get in, that's where you want to stop him. You don't want to wait for him to run through your house, taking everything he can and pawning it, and then meanwhile 3 years later he's stolen from all your neighbors and he's not carrying the money. You can't get it back.
Wow, exactly. That's a really good analogy because what I've seen in the generalized Florida when they're doing fraud down there, it's hundreds of millions of dollars and all that money's gone, I bet. It's tough to get it back, right?
It is. And when we say we recovered, $3 million, what does that really mean? Did we really recover it, because we've also spent money getting it back. We spent money investigating it, might be a couple years. Spent money prosecuting, might be another couple years. And then we're probably spending time and money trying to sell off properties and sell off things, and then there's no bag of cash at the end of that. So we may not get any of it back, frankly. So we want to stop it when it's $100, and that's, we keep going back to the person. Open those statements, look at them, and we're telling them it's not rocket science. You're looking for things that you didn't receive. You're looking for doctors you don't recognize, and we are not isolated in Montana anymore. Like I said, we saw probably 10 cases that were eligible to refer to the OIG last year, which is the Office of Inspector General. So it's happening.
And it becomes about much better because the individual is looking at their bills and asking questions about them. But now when an individual does look at their bill, and they do have some procedures that they're questioning, is the first place to go really is to the SMP program, or would it be to the physician's office? Where's the best first step to go?
The best step and the quickest step for someone would probably be to call their own doctor's office to question a charge. So in the case of somebody, especially if something was denied, they went in to see the doctor, maybe they're new to Medicare. This was an actual case that came through. New to Medicare, went to the doctor, and the charge was denied. And it was they coded it as a wellness exam instead of a new to Medicare, which is, basically the same thing, but it's every year after the first year. So simple things happen, simple mistakes happen.
Simple mistakes.
Call the doctor.
And what kind of difference in cost would one look at in the example you showed? I mean, how much money would be recovered?
Well, in that case, the person was being charged completely because Medicare has it in that this is their first year, that this was their first year on the program, and so they were being billed for that wellness exam, so it would have been completely out of pocket if they hadn't questioned it.
Okay.
And some people do just pay. They figure everybody knows what they're doing, the bills come in, they must be correct, and they'll just pay. And we want them to question things if they just don't seem right. And they may not recognize, the radiologist they didn't see, or somebody, an x-ray, but if they question it, then it doesn't hurt anything.
Right. And there's always procedures, professionals in the background that you don't see, but they're doing their job, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So you can be surprised how many people are in the background. So we call the 800 number. You can also help people to understand what their bill means, right? I mean, it could be fraud, but it could just be a need for a better understanding, because all the SMP people are professionals in their field.
Right.
And they study a lot, and they know what's going on.
Right, or we know who to call if we need to question it, yes.
Yeah, but you can help them with the billing also, if there's billing problems. Medicare is kind of a big creature, isn't it? And it's tough for maybe a senior to come in and understand it.
Well, and sometimes they make mistakes as well.
Yes.
We've seen it where people come to us to question a Medicare summary notice, and the math doesn't add up to us either, and we call Medicare, and we found out that it was actually a mistake in MSN, and the numbers wouldn't have added up, so wouldn't know that without calling them.
Yeah.
So things happen on their end as well.
And it gives you peace of mind, and what it does is it brings the cost of Medicare down, doesn't it?
Oh, definitely. Right. If everything were billed, they're processing about 4.5 million claims a day, and they're doing it really well. They're on top of that. That's what their job is. But they're making sure, as long as the T's are crossed, the I's are dotted, that people are getting paid.
Yes.
And that's where, the people to stop and look at and make sure that everything was done correctly. They're the ones who know if they went to a doctor or not.
Right. Well, we quickly drawn to a close in this segment. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Crackling fire, good warm. Forest fire, bad warm. Keeping the home fires burning, good warm. Watching the home burn, bad warm. Your family deserves the kind of warm that comes from being able to pay the heating bills. Whether you're a homeowner or a renter, the Low Income Energy Assistance Program may be able to help. Call today to find out if you're eligible. We can help you get comfortable with winter's high energy costs.
Every 65 seconds, someone is affected with Alzheimer's or other dementias. Many become isolated at a time when help is most needed. If you or someone you love is affected, help is available, both for people with memory loss and their caregivers. Memory loss can feel frightening, but you are not alone. Call the free 24/7 Alzheimer's Association helpline, 800-272-3900, for guidance and support.
You sure you can see?
Yeah.
Are the headlights on?
Yes.
Do we need chains?
No.
Need to slow down?
You know, you're probably right.
Winterize your vehicle, then winterize your mind. Stay clear of snowplows until they pull over, and it's safe to pass. Drive safely and arrive alive.
I think the most pleasant surprise when we turned 65 and signed up for Medicare Part B was finding out about our Welcome to Medicare preventive visit.
It was free, and it gave us the opportunity to visit with our doctors and establish a plan for our health going forward.
They reviewed our medical history, measured our height, weight, blood pressure, and counseled us on other risk factors.
To learn more about Medicare's free or low-cost preventive and wellness benefits, call your local SHIP counselor at 800-551-3191. I mentioned it's free, right?
Twice.
Welcome back to Aging Horizons. I'm your host, Brian Lamore, and we're continuing our discussion about Medicare fraud. The fraud and the bills that are coming to you as an individual. You're the first line of defense. And Renee, you know, we're talking about how people should be aware of certain issues to recognize fraud, but there's a lot more. Tell us some more of those points.
Yeah, well, I just want people to be aware of a couple common situations that when they come to us and fall in our laps 3 years later, it's really complicated. So to stay away from that, people need to be aware of if they're ever in an auto accident or there's a work comp claim, something where another insurance is primary and should pay and should cover it. If those bills go to Medicare and Medicare pays them, because that's what, again, they're very good at paying things, they make these what's called conditional payments because they want doctors to get paid.
Yes.
But then 2 or 3 years down the road when things are, you know, the dust is settling, they'll say, okay, it's time for us to recoup that money. And at that point, your auto claim's probably been closed, work comp might be, or you might have received a settlement, and now you've got the Department of Treasury telling you owe them $6,000. So I just urge people, if they're ever in that situation where they're in an accident that Medicare is not the primary, to make sure that the proper insurance is billed every time. And whether they go to the doctor and say, I was in an auto accident, here's that insurance. They just have to really make sure that it's going to the right place.
The right place first, and who is the initial liability? What insurance company lies with that? And then Medicare can help out. But now that kind of seems a little complicated. The SMP people can help out, right?
Yes. And it does get complicated because it turns into some of the things Medicare paid for and should have paid, and the things that they shouldn't have paid for, and clearing that up is just so much easier if people at the start make sure the right insurance gets billed. And another thing we want to make people aware of is just because they're in a hospital overnight and they have a band on their arm doesn't mean they're admitted, and it makes all the difference when things get paid. So they might be under observation and not be aware, but when they're in the hospital, they can ask and they can find that out. And if they're in the hospital, they can actually ask for it to be changed or question it. Once they're out, you can't go back and change things. That would be fraud. So when they're in the hospital, and if they're under observation, they just need to know things like how Medicare will not cover their prescription drugs, their regular prescriptions. They can't bring them in, but the hospital's going to give them to them, and then they're going to bill them for them. And the person then needs to turn around and bill their Part D plan themselves. So that's something to be aware of, those little things. And those are the kind of things, if they have questions about Medicare benefits, Medicare enrollment, they can contact that State Health Insurance Assistance Program, SHIP counselors, or if they're running into any trouble or need something explained or organized, they can call the SMP program. We're all housed in the area agency network.
Yeah, and that's an important point, whether you're being admitted or just for observation. I imagine many times you go to the hospital, that's kind of the last thing you worry about, these little details. So maybe it's the loved ones that are watching the show right now need to remember, is he under observation, or are they being admitted? And if you're admitted, is it usually more than one night, or? It's hard to say.
Hard to say, yeah.
Great. Well, now, that's kind of a little complicated there, but now are there some other tips that you can share with us that most people might not be aware of?
Well, those are the main two that end up where they could have been easily cleared up if people knew ahead of time.
Yeah.
But the main things to keep in mind are the protect, detect, report that we always say. You want to protect your Medicare number from both yourself being defrauded, but also Medicare. Not give it out, not fall for the, Medicare is never going to call you and try to sell you something. They're not in the habit of marketing for genetic tests or durable medical equipment. If you're eligible for something or need something, go through your doctor. Do not order it over the phone to an unknown person. And then the detect part is to read those statements. Just open them up and look at them and just make sure everything looks okay. And then the last thing is to report. Question anything you don't understand or question anything that looks like it's suspicious. A lot of mistakes do happen in Montana, being low fraud. Just know that we're just not protected from fraud like we used to be.
And that we have professionals through our area agency networks with the number 800 number on the screen. You can call up and they are there to help you. They don't have anything to sell. They don't have any access to grind. They'll be very completely confidential with whatever your questions are, but it's important for that first question.
Yes, and I do want to tell people to go to that www.missoulaagingservices.org, because under our services in the SMP program, we have 4 videos that we had a couple of volunteers agreed to be our actors, and they walk people through SMP, Medicare fraud, and the Medicare summary notice and how to understand it. And as well as other information on Medicare fraud they'll find on that page.
Right, and how to understand it. It's almost like you look at the Medicare bills, and I think anybody needs some help, much less someone who's gone through a procedure.
Yes.
It's got to be tough. So our loved ones, many times the first individuals that are contacting you versus the person who received the services because they're concerned?
It's a mixed bag. I think sometimes with the fraud, it might be a loved one, because in those situations, if somebody's not looking at their statements, it might be because they have dementia or they're in a facility or something like that, and that's been the case sometimes.
Okay. Well, we're drawn to a close on the show. Can you give us a quick recap of what the SMP program does and how it helps the individuals?
Yes. So we want to empower. That means we want to tell everyone they're the first line of defense when we are all worried about wasting government money, because you hear that a lot. Well, we wouldn't have to spend as much government money if people would read their statements and stop fraud when it's $100 instead of letting the crook get away with $1.9 million before they're caught.
Yeah, and the government with their computer programs, they said they're putting out 4 million payments a day, and they're working at that end to correct these things, but it's the individual too that needs to address this.
Yes.
Okay, that's great. Well, thank you so much for being on the show, Renee. We really appreciate all your hard work and your attentiveness to make sure that our seniors are not frauded in Montana, you and your coworkers.
Thank you.
Great. And again, for our viewers, we were talking about Medicare fraud. If you question anything, give the number on the screen a call. If you're confused about your Medicare bill, they can help you out also. They have the answers. They're the professionals. For Aging Horizons, I'm Brian Lamore. Thank you for joining us.
Special thanks to the Department of Public Health and Human Services for their continued support. Hosts on Aging Horizons are program specialists at the Montana Office on Aging. Production facilities provided by Video Express Productions. For more information about Aging Horizons, call the Department of Public Health and Human Services toll-free at 800-332-2272.